it's me. It's me, Vicky Marie. And good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the world. So I just thought I'd give you a little update about Sebastian Rogers. Unfortunately, not the update everyone's waiting for, that Sebastian has been found safe and well and has been reunited with his family. But this is, for those of you who don't know, just a quick recap about Sebastian. Sebastian is a 15-year-old boy, autistic, high functioning autistic, who disappeared from his home. You know, his mum said goodnight to him the night before, Katie Proudfoot apparently, and in the morning, Sebastian was gone. And ever since then, this was in February, back in February, and since then there has been no trace of Sebastian, despite the police searching for him, despite his dad searching for him, putting together search parties. There's been vigils, there's been posters, there's been, you know, a lot of high profile stuff on social media, etc. There's an Amber Alert. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation is looking for him. They've searched landfills, and there's still been no trace of Sebastian. Now, it's all gone a bit quiet now, but in the early days, because Sebastian's mum, Katie, is separated from his father, his biological father, Seth Rogers, and her husband, Chris, Sebastian's stepfather. Of course, there was lots and lots of bad things being said about them on social media, that Chris was abusive, that Katie didn't care about her own son, that she's done something to him. There's been accusations thrown left, right and centre, and it wasn't helped by the fact that Sebastian's biological father, Seth, was all over social media in the beginning, on lots of different YouTube channels. They were all on different YouTube channels, arguing with each other almost by proxy, not, you know, because they were flinging, it was Seth was flinging most of the accusations, to be honest. You know, and it all just got completely out of control. And then Seth seemed to fall out with a lot of the people that were originally trying to help him, like YouTubers or private investigators, etc. And eventually, excuse me, I'm going to sneeze. Sorry, that's all the dust that's around. Eventually, Seth took out a cease and desist, or sent cease and desist letters to a lot of YouTubers, and that he originally had been friendly with and had been helping with him. And it all got a bit ridiculous, didn't it? And it all got a bit unseemly, you know, because ultimately at the centre of this whole case is a 15-year-old vulnerable autistic boy who's disappeared off the face of the earth. And as we always say, we know people don't disappear off the face of the earth. So he is somewhere. Whether he's alive or not, we don't know, but we have to presume that he is until we find out that he isn't. There was another sort of mad sort of social media flurry when a boy looking very much like Sebastian was seen in Carolina, and the FBI, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation went to investigate, found the boy. It did look very much like Sebastian, but it was not Sebastian. And so that's where we are now. Really not much further on than all those months ago. Now, before I carry on, so I can take the banner off, I just want to say thank you for liking, for subscribing. If you're not subscribed already to my channel and you find this content interesting, please subscribe. Don't forget to press the notification bell so you get notifications, and it's free. It's completely free. And also I want to say special thank you as always to my members. Every week I do 2 members lives on a Tuesday and a Thursday. It's only $4.99 a month to be a member, and that's we do the exclusive lives on whatever subject is the subject of the day, or you can choose this. If you're a member of Carry On Chatting, you can choose what subjects we could discuss. That's my dog trying to get comfy. So it's very hot here. For those of you who don't know, I'm in mainland Spain. I am from England. I was born in England, but I live in Spain. It's very, very hot because it's July as I'm making this video. So we're all hot and fed up, aren't we? Tia, this is one of my dogs, Tia. And if you're a member, of course, you also get to use the special members emojis, one of which is of this little madam here, Princess Tia. So also I want to say thank you to people that have bought me a Ko-fi, people that have PayPal'd me. I've got such lovely supporters in my community on my channel. Thank you so much. And of course we all care about, we've been following Sebastian's case, if not from day one, from very, very early on in the case. And, following the twists and turns. And, I think everybody just got a little bit, the behavior of the family involved, like the especially Seth, who we're going to look at in a minute, the bio dad. I think maybe he went through some sort of a nervous breakdown, because it did all get quite, it's awful. When your child is missing, of course it is, but it's not everybody else's fault. Even if there is foul play, that's only going to be one person's fault, or maybe a couple of persons' fault. You can't take it out on the world, because it's not the world's fault. And most of the world wants Sebastian to be found, safe and well. I think most wishes that go out to, well, certainly from me anyway, and I think from most people, my chatters, my community, are positive. We want this family. We want Sebastian to be home and happy. It turns out, there were some problems, but you know what? Every family has problems. Some of the decisions that were being made for Sebastian, like to take him out of school maybe, or for him to go and live with his dad, we know now he maybe wasn't happy with. So this is another reason people think maybe you may have run away, but really we just don't know, because also it's said that he left home with no shoes on. So whether he had socks on or not, I'm not sure, but according to his mum, all his shoes are accounted for. Now, did he have maybe his stepdad's shoes on or somebody else's shoes on? Who knows? But I'm sure his mum would know which shoes there should be there and which aren't. So that, of course, leads us to believe, he wasn't intending to be out long, that he was maybe just popping out. So, personally, that's my own personal theory. Something happened, probably an accident of some kind, and but we don't know. That's just my own personal theory. I'm sure you've all got your own personal theories, which I'm sure you'll let me know about in comments. Always remember to be respectful, not only to Sebastian and to his family. Be respectful to each other, and be respectful to me. Please say what you like, as long as you say it respectfully. Okay, so let's see if have I got a photo of, don't know if I've still got a photo up here, because I was doing some other videos. I've got this, I can put this one up. So this is Sebastian. His glasses, I don't know if he had his glasses on when he went missing. It's not, you can't see that very well, obviously, so we'll see some other photos. So anyway, what this video is about, so in the end, his biological father, Seth Rogers, who'd been making quite a few mistakes, I think, by going on all these YouTube channels, a guy called Tony Mathis became his PR guy. And again, after a few, let's say, teething troubles, because he was supposed to come along and, calm the storm, be the adult in everything, he just made more problems than there were already. He just you know, it was just a nightmare. I like to call him Phony Tony, full of baloney, because I don't know, certainly in the early days, I don't know if he helped at all. In fact, if he didn't make everything worse. So Tony had been helping in the Caleb Harris case, which is another case we were covering, and very sadly, Caleb recently, his remains have been identified, haven't they, as being in the waste pipe sewage facility or waste pipe facility right near to his home. And the question now about Caleb is, you know, was it foul play, or was it, again, a sad accident? Sad accidents do happen. I think sometimes when it's a bit of a freak accident, people don't believe it because they don't think these kind of things can happen, but they can. It could be that Caleb fell down a manhole himself accidentally that was left open. Or was he put there? This is the question. And that's going to be a very difficult question for the police there in Corpus Christi to answer, because Caleb's body, unfortunately, was quite a few months in that waste water facility, and the body is virtually impossible to establish a cause of death. But they have said that there's no obvious signs of foul play. In other words, there's no bullet holes. Maybe they can tell when there's been, you know, if somebody's been stabbed, you know, if it chips the bone or whatever. So that there's no obvious signs, put it that way, of foul play. But I think that's going to be a very, very difficult case to establish his cause of death. Anyway, that's another case that we're looking at. But so Sebastian, now he went missing in Tennessee, not, you know, in a similar area to where Summer Wells went missing. Now, this has led, of course, a lot of people, you know, is there somebody going around Tennessee, that area, and kidnapping children? Because, of course, Summer Wells has not been found, and her family also have been through this sort of terrible people looking at them twice, and it may be that they had something to do with Summer's disappearance. But again, we actually do not know. So really, you know, because wouldn't it be awful if one day, you know, it was proven that Summer was kidnapped by somebody completely random, and her family were completely innocent, and all these accusations that have flown against them, you know, the more you think about that, you know, that's coming to mind. It's easy to take, you know, we think sometimes on social media, and I'm as guilty of it as anyone, you know, to me, especially in my chat, I feel like I'm just chatting with you all, like in a pub or, you know, at home or whatever. And we forget sometimes that, of course, the family are watching all these things, or could be watching. They're hearing looking at all the social media pages, hearing what people are saying about them. It's not like discussing it just in the pub, is it? Because you never know who might be watching it. And it would be very hurtful if you were innocent, wouldn't it? Because not only you're coping with the fact your child has disappeared, but you are then trying to cope with the fact that everybody thinks you did something to them. So, you know, it is difficult. But having said that, social media too can be a force for the good, because, you know, these families normally want to use social media to help, you know, draw attention to the fact their child is missing, because people go missing every day, day in, day out. And social media and mainstream media pick up on only some stories. They can't cover all the stories. It would just be rolling news about missing people, wouldn't it? So it's like a conundrum, isn't it? Because if you're the family of a missing person, you want the media to take it up, mainstream media and social media, because you want the word out there, don't you, that your child or your loved one or your mother, your father, or whoever it is has gone missing. But unfortunately, when these cases do attract a lot of attention, that they also attract a lot of haters as well. And you know, you almost have to take that with the territory, which is hard enough, believe me, when you're a YouTuber and you're doing it every day and you dealing with these comments. I remember how I used to feel about bad comments compared to how I feel now, but there's still that, now literally just let them wash over me, because I've just come to realize you cannot please everybody. But having said that, there are days, everybody has bad days, and things hurt on bad days and don't on other days, don't they? So, but one thing I think Seth, Sebastian's biological dad, could not complain of is that there was no attention given, because there's been a lot of media attention given, social media and mainstream media. Not all good. It started off good. Everyone was very sympathetic to Seth in the beginning, but Seth did a few strange things, didn't he? And he told people to F off if they didn't agree with him, and he started, he got a bit cantankerous with his private investigators, blah de blah de blah. So he went from being sort of really felt sorry for to not so much. Anyway, what he decided to do not long ago, which I think is a brilliant idea, is instead of going on all these different social media channels and getting hauled over the coals by most of them, or most of the chatters on them, he set up his own YouTube channel. And he's been doing a couple of videos showing some photos of Sebastian, some personal photos, videos. And then this week he was supposed to have an interview. He broadcast, publicised that he was going to be having an interview with Joe Petito, who is Gabby Petito's dad. And I don't know if you remember the case of Gabby Petito. Again, another very sad story. So Gabby went missing, and her boyfriend sort of turned up. They'd gone on a van life trip together, her and her boyfriend Brian Laundrie. He ended up arriving back home, no Gabby, but in Gabby's van. And then there was a big search for Gabby, and very sadly Gabby was found murdered by Brian. And that was only through social media that Gabby's body was found, because somebody had, another family that were doing the van life thing, traveling in a van, noticed Gabby's van. They noticed it because it had Florida plates, and they were from Florida, parked up in a national park. And so they slowed down, took some footage of it, hoping to say hello to whoever was in it, but nobody came out of the van. Anyway, this turned out to be Gabby's van. And when the police went and searched in the immediate vicinity to where that van was seen, they found Gabby's body. Now, I don't know if they would have ever found Gabby's body if it wouldn't have been for that information from the social media, other van lifers. Maybe because they may have seen by his phone signal that he stopped for a length of time or whatever, but it certainly gave the police a narrower area to search. And of course, eventually, Brian Laundrie took himself away from justice on this earth, and took himself off into a local national park near him, and deleted himself. So justice for Gabby is not possible, in the sense of taking Brian to court and finding out exactly what happened. But anyway, so her dad, Joe Petito, he's thrown himself into activism, really. He's founded the Gabby Petito Foundation, against domestic violence, against coercive control, etc. And he's very high profile. He does appear on quite a lot of YouTube channels or mainstream media as well, giving interviews. I find that people in these cases, they deal with it, and some people close themselves away and don't speak to anyone. And then other people, like grieving parents or relatives, try and turn it into a positive by getting out there, and it seems to help them talking about it, doing things about it, rather than just hide it. Everyone has their own way of dealing with grief, I suppose. So there was a big public announcement put out from Seth on his YouTube, you know, that he was going to be doing a live last night with Gabby Petito's dad, that Joe Petito was going to appear on this live and they were going to have a chat, you know. And when it came to the actual live, no Joe Petito. So I'll let Seth explain to you what happened, because obviously the first thing everybody was asking is, where is Joe Petito? So they changed the title from sort of interview with Joe Petito to Sebastian at SeaWorld.
I will send out an army.
So it's quite sweet actually, because it started off with these are lots of other missing children, you know, because that's it. Sebastian's case is really in the forefront. A lot of people know about it, but these other children, probably nobody, I didn't know about any of these children. These are other children missing in Tennessee.
Find you in the middle of the darkest night, it's true.
So I've just realised I've got to turn the sound down because it'll get picked up. So a lot of them are sort of young teenagers. Where are they? And there's a baby there. Now, I think it's important. Some of them will be runaways, but other ones, sometimes if there's a family that's estranged, you know, sometimes the other parent does take away the children as well. So there won't all be children that have died or been abducted for bad reasons, you know. Sometimes it's custody battles, etc. But it's sad to see how many there are. There's Summer, and here's Sebastian. And here's Seth.
Hello, everybody.
Now, Seth recently had an operation on his shoulder, because if you remember, quite often when he was doing those YouTube things, he was like practically falling asleep. There were rumours that he'd fallen asleep during a lie detector test. I still don't know if that's true or not, or just another rumour. But he's recently had some surgery to relieve some pain, and he does look better in his face, I think, than he did. You know, apart from the fact is he don't know where his son is as well, so he's got a lot going on.
See if this thing is working. Make sure I have sound. How we doing, Tony?
Good. How you doing tonight, brother?
Just another night. More information.
Well, we appreciate everybody being here with us tonight for episode 2, and can't tell you how grateful we are for those of you that continue to support Seth and finding his son Sebastian. We've got some very, very personal videos and photos that we're going to share with you tonight. So, Seth, take it away, buddy.
All righty. I'm working on it.
Take your time.
Now, Seth does take his time. I thought I was slow with the social media. So sped it up a little tiny bit. So this is his video at SeaWorld, bless him. I do think, I mean, to me, I don't care, you know, people say bad things about, you know, about Katie and about Seth, but I don't know the dynamics that went on in that household. There seems to have been quite a few instances of calling child protection services. But, you know, sometimes that can happen when there's an estranged relationship between. Sometimes that's how people get their own back on each other. Sometimes, you know, by phoning child protection. I've seen it on Judge Judy a million times. You know, if people get annoyed with their ex-partner, if they're not paying their alimony, or they're not doing this, or they're not doing that, or the other side, the other person is trying to get the custody. So what they do is phone child protection services, and sometimes that does happen when actually there's not really been anything that's happened. So, you know, who knows? At the end of the day, nobody's been arrested, nobody's been charged in this case. Apparently Katie, her current husband Chris, and Seth have all passed lie detector tests. The house has been searched. You know, again, it's one of those, there's no reason to suspect foul play. But of course, that does not mean that there has not been any foul play. That will all come out sooner or later, I hope. I hope that Sebastian is found. I hope it doesn't turn into another Summer Wells case. I've got to turn the sound down. Now, I think what we can see about Sebastian in these videos is he's a lively little fella. Oh, Seth's talking now, I think. Oh, no. He's a lively little fella, so, you know, especially having... Oh, no, he is. Is he talking or not?
And this videos.
You know, so especially having autism, well, you know, I think boys are always a little bit hyperactive personally. Sometimes girls, but you can see, you know, he's a lively child, let's say. So he's having a good time anyway. He's certainly having a good time. God. So this was at SeaWorld, apparently. It's nice seeing all those kids running about. It's nice to be able to... There's nothing better than when you can take them somewhere where they can just run about and go mad. Because kids need to work off energy, don't they? And from what Seth has said about Sebastian, he you know, didn't sleep much, did he? At least my son was pretty hyper, to be honest, when he was awake, but he did sleep well. You know, so you'd take him out and wear him out and he would sleep easily 10 hours, no problem. So at least you got the rest then. But if you've got a child who's, you know, quite sort of lively and then never sleeps, and they always sleep at the wrong time, don't they? You know, you always seem to be, as you're on the way home, you don't want them to sleep. You want them to sleep when they get home, and they always fall asleep in the car. And so you spend your time trying to keep them awake while they're in the car. So that they'll sleep when they get home. But it's so, you know, my son always used to fall asleep in the car. Still does. Whereas I can't sleep in the car. I mean, I don't only mean when I'm driving, obviously, not then. But, you know, I find it very difficult to sleep in a car, even when someone else is driving, and even when I'm really tired. But my son, oh, my God, he could nod off in 10 minutes in a car. Oh, look at that little girl there. Oh. Don't know who Jennifer Jennings is. Oops. So he's having a great time, you can see. Oh, I just banged into that little boy. Now, when this finishes, I'm going to fast because then a lot of the rest of it is just like the animals at SeaWorld, etc. We don't need to look at all those. Just fast forward it a bit. Oh, there he is looking at the killer whales. Oh my God. Seth's getting quite upset as he's watching it, which is sad. Yeah. So of course it's all new to Seth, this you know, doing his StreamYard and his streaming, etc. So, you know, he's learning, but I think he's right to do it himself rather than go on other people's YouTubes and things, because it always gets twisted then. You know, hopefully you just get supporters on here as well. Just fast forward a bit. Okay, let's go. Oh. See, this is what I mean. This is what happens on the way home. Look at him. He's probably trying to keep him awake, or maybe he was taking him back to Katie's. You sleep all the way home and he gets back to Katie's and Katie's trying to get him to go to bed and he'd be like, oh no, I've had to sleep in the car. That is just how it is. Oh, put the sound back up.
I can. Well, first off, buddy, thank you for sharing that with all of us. I know those are incredibly powerful but painful things to watch at this time. And, you know, I hope those of you in the chat that are watching live can appreciate how hard it is for a father to share those types of memories at this time. So we want you to know that we appreciate you guys enough to share that with you. So again, thank you, Seth. And,
you know, my plans are to find Sebastian and make more. So, you know.
I'll tell you, I don't know which was harder to watch, the intro or the video, or if it's 50-50, but between those two things, there's probably a lot of tears in the chat for sure.
Well, I'll tell you what, the intro gets to me no matter what.
So we're gonna get on into it, and again, we just can't tell you guys how much those of you that continue to support Seth, we appreciate you. As most of you know, we had a special guest planned for tonight. I had reached out to.
No, so this is where he explains what happened to Joe Petito. So don't forget, Joe Petito was supposed to be on talking about, you know, the Gabby Petito Foundation, missing children, what it's like, because he will understand how Seth feels, because he spent quite a long time not knowing what had happened to Gabby, and also absolutely no cooperation from Brian's family, the dirty laundries. You know, they treated them with total contempt, which was awful.
Joe Petito about a week ago, and asked him if he would like to come on and support Seth and Sebastian and talk about Gabby's foundation. And of course, he was, as always, glad to do that, glad to help, and appreciated us asking him to do so.
Unfortunately,
as
a phone call this morning. I guess there's some vile people in the world that, you know, still don't want me to find my son, still putting up opposition, and decided to be, you know, that bad portion of humanity and threaten somebody. So, unfortunately, I understand. I don't want him and his family to.
So who would do that? I mean, this is what I mean. There's so many sad people in this world. Like, you know, when I say sad, I mean sad, like horrible. There's a lot of sad people who are, you know, who are sad, like people who've lost whose children are missing or whatever. But I mean sad people, pathetic people. So what's happened is, as soon as, you know, because he publicized that Joe Petito was going to come on his channel, people have threatened Joe Petito, have threatened his family. If he goes on Seth's channel, they're going to do this, they're going to dox him. They're going to, you know, make problems for the Gabby Petito Foundation. I'll let Seth explain to you, but can you believe that people would do that?
To suffer from anything. So I just think it's really vile that people can still do that. I just want to find my son.
So I talked to Seth this morning, and I asked him specifically what Joe had said. He said that Joe had told him that he had been threatened. His family had been threatened. His foundation had been threatened. I had no reason not to believe Seth, but I also wanted to talk to Joe myself. So I reached out to Joe, and I apologized to Joe for anything he was experiencing on our behalf. Asked him more specifically what it was that had happened, and he said that he was threatened to have his personal information put out there, and Gabby's foundation was actually threatened as well. So we're not going to dig any deeper into that. I just would like to say that it saddens me that anybody would threaten his family or his foundation. But Joe, if you're listening or you hear this, again, apologies on my behalf and Seth's behalf that you had to experience that. I'm blown away that there are people that are that determined to keep two grieving fathers from connecting, but we're not going to give that any more airtime, nor are we going to call people out specifically.
And don't you think that is awful? What is that? I just don't understand people. I mean, I've seen quite a lot of it over the Jay Slater case and, of course, the Nicola Bully case. But I think, it still confounds me.
Specifically, we're going to move on. But what we'd like to do tonight is, I know we've got a lot of people that have had a lot of questions that on the first episode we were not able to get to. So, Seth, I'd like you to turn your chat off, and we're going to actually take some questions from the chat. So if you guys have got some questions that you would like Seth to answer,
turn my chat off. Huh?
Yes, I do. Please.
Why?
I think everybody on here knows why. So yeah, let's get some of these questions moving in.
So imagine that you've got to turn the chat off for a father whose son has gone missing, just in case some twonk comes on there and says something nasty. Terrible, isn't it? So he's asked Seth to turn his chat off so that Tony can see the questions and asking the questions. I don't like Tony, and I've got my reservations about Seth, but Seth, at the end of the day, he's the father whose son is missing. And, whatever the ins and outs of the relationship with him and Katie, and same goes, as far as I'm concerned, with Katie and even Chris Proudfoot. I don't think any of them have had anything to do with Sebastian going missing. Having said that, it's always possible, there's always a possibility. But what I'm trying to say is, even though, I'm not like, thinking Tony's a wonderful person or Seth's a wonderful person or anyone is, at the end of the day, I wouldn't go on his chat and say, oh, this, that and the other. Why do people do that? What they get this sort of pleasure out of it, don't they? There's something wrong with them. You take pleasure out of someone else's pain. And I mean, I'm not even just talking about having an opinion about it. I'm talking about taking pleasure out of it. Going out of your way to go on, make these comments with no evidence, totally unfounded. This happened on my channel just recently. Everybody, you're not looking at the full picture. Okay, well, give me the evidence. There is no evidence of anything else. If there's no evidence of anything else, why are you even saying it?
And we'll get Seth to answer these questions. Let's see.
But Tony's probably got to select questions that aren't too nasty.
Seth, I did get an interesting question here a minute ago that while I'm waiting on some more questions to come into the chat, I think we've got it slowed down. But someone wanted to know how you were doing in your personal life, and then they followed up by asking if you were dating anybody. So I'll let you have that one, buddy.
Yeah, no, I'm not dating anybody. Really don't have that much time.
So someone says, Seth, just how are you in general? How are you recovering from surgery? How are you doing emotionally? I mean, we know the short answer to
thing about Seth is he's not the easiest person sometimes because, he's quite sort of taciturn, isn't he, in his answers and stuff. But like he's at, not that it's got anything to do with anybody if he's dating or not, has it really? But it's just, he sort of, I don't know. It's his. The whole point of Tony is supposed to be his PR guy, but I don't know if it really works because Seth just does his own thing, doesn't he? Doesn't, and really, why should he care how he comes over? If someone says, "Are you dating someone?" Oh, no, I'm not dating anyone. I don't have enough time. But there is probably a better way you could say it. I don't know. I don't really know what the answer is, but it is a bit of a silly question, isn't it? Because it's got nothing to do with Sebastian going missing.
To that, but can you elaborate on kind of how things are going since the surgery?
Well, I have an appointment coming up. They want to do X-rays, post surgery X-rays, and then I'll have an appointment with my doctor afterwards. So then they'll let me know how everything is starting to heal.
So Smiley Stories World says, how old was Sebastian in that video? I might have missed that. Thank you for showing the video with us.
That was done in October, right before they came up here. Been here 4 years, so that was 5 years ago.
So it's about.
That was while we were still in California.
Oh, just to be clear, guys, when I told Seth to turn off the chat, I wasn't talking about the chat. I was talking about him seeing the chat. So that's all. We're gonna keep the chat moving.
All I know is, oh, there you go. All right, now I took chat off.
Let's see. Any searches in Alaska?
We have, when it comes to Alaska, there's been a few people in Alaska that have said that they'll print out and hand out flyers. So I have to rely on humanity for that.
That comes from None Your Business. That name's right up your alley, isn't it, Seth?
Hey, we're not going there.
So
somebody called None of Your Business asking, have you searched in Alaska? And, you know, the reason, for those of you who don't know, there's this thing about the, what we call the Bower socks, the Chris's parents supposedly went up to Alaska, and some people were alleging, you know, that maybe they took Sebastian to Alaska and buried him there, or, you know, took him and hid him there. I mean, I suppose it's possible like anything else, but that's what they're alluding to, the searches in Alaska.
So Sonja asks, what happened with Sebastian's 2 doggies that he had?
2? Oh, I have no idea. You're talking about Katie's dogs?
I think that's what they're asking about.
Yeah, I have no idea what's going on in that household. Yeah, my son's not there, so why would I be?
So no idea what's going on in the household.
Yeah, waste of time.
So someone asks what searches look like with you specifically. I'll let you answer that to the extent that you want to.
Well, I don't know, Tony. You were with me for all the boat searches that we did.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important for everybody to understand that, you know, we are at a point now where we're doing targeted searches with searches that are backed with information. Our PI is handling a lot of those searches, and quite frankly, that the only reason Seth was invited to the last one is that she wanted us to do some water searching, and Seth wanted to be in the boat for that. But I can tell you that we were out there for 4 days straight. It was probably 104, 108 degree heat index, and we were out there for 8 to 10 hours a day. Does that sound accurate, Seth?
It was long. Enough that I got sun. I mean, I went from looking pale to looking like I've been outside all summer.
So, according to him, they're still searching, but they're doing targeted searching. I don't know if the police are still searching or I presume they are.
Reading the graphs and everything, you don't realize how long you do it until you realize what time it is.
Right.
Because you're not even paying attention to the song, to time. You're just listening to the motor, watching the graph and paying attention to the other graph so we don't hit short. I mean, looking for anything that may or may not be like it's supposed to be there, out of place.
Yeah, and we can kind of address too why we're here together. So we got a phone call from Jamie Vaughn at Channel 2 News asking for updates regarding the search, and Jamie's a great person, phenomenal person, but we gave her the info that we'd found some items of interest and what we'd had to go through to clear those items of interest, and but all those items of interest had been cleared and were not related to Sebastian in any way, shape, or form. Unfortunately, the last part of that did not get put. Yeah, it didn't get relayed on the story. So she came out and sent some messages trying to correct that. Of course, by then people had taken it and run with it. But just so you guys know, there's a process when you find an item that doesn't look like it belongs, and it could take 20, 30 minutes to clear that item. And we found 6 or 8 of those items in that four-day period. So.
Yeah, I remember this. They said they'd found some items of interest. So what's happened to them? Have they passed them to the police?
All of those items.
Your due diligence.
Yeah, all of those items were cleared. And fortunately, none of those items were related to Sebastian. So Slim Hauser says, has Hendersonville Walmart placed Sebastian's missing flyer on their wall?
I believe this picture is at Hendersonville.
Okay. Let's see. Seth, do you have any new leads? For
Can't
me,
answer that question.
Okay.
Can't answer that question now. Of course, earlier on in this case, Seth was complaining that the police weren't keeping him up to speed with things. But of course, he was going on all these YouTube channels and talking. He was running his mouth, basically. So I think that's the reason why the police stopped talking to Seth, or that's just seemed logical to me, that because he gave away some things. Now he's much more close, keeps his cards much more close to his chest. You know, Tony's just asked him that question. Somebody asked, are there any new leads? And he said, I can't answer that. So, you know, that sort of suggests that maybe there are. But the thing is, because he did say not long ago that the police were now involving him in updates and things. So it must be under the premise, I would imagine, that he doesn't, broadcast it on social media.
Yeah, we love questions about Sebastian too, as I'm getting through these guys.
That's right. Everyone.
Have you had any, someone asked if you had any communication with Chris and Katie at all?
That would be a negative ghostwriter.
Okay.
Yeah, so unfortunately, they're not all together, like, Chris, Katie, and the biological father, Seth, would work better, wouldn't it? I think that is something that did work well for the Petitos. And the same with Riley Strain, if you remember, they were, two estranged parents, if you like, of their child. They weren't still together with the original parent, but they seem to work well together. But that's not happening in this case. They're not all together on this, despite a couple of times it looked as if they were going to be, didn't it? And then it all just fell apart, mainly because of this guy the last time.
Do we still have an open line of communication with law enforcement?
I would say possibly. I haven't called them.
So Single Mom WTF True Crime says, what are the kind of the prospects of you going back to work? Do you know when that's going to happen yet? I know we've talked about it a little.
What, me going back to work?
Yes, sir.
That would be as soon as my doctor actually tells me I can.
Okay. Let's see.
What would you ask? I'm just thinking these questions, a lot of them really, what have they got to do with Sebastian's disappearance? Asking when Seth's going back to work, is he dating anybody? Where are the actual questions about Sebastian, maybe? I was just trying to think what I would ask. I would probably say to Seth, what do you think has happened? Or what do you think has happened? Do you think Sebastian ran away? Or, maybe he wouldn't want to answer it. There's a sort of a limited usefulness to this. If he can't say anything because of the police inquiry, he just said that he hasn't phoned the police for ages. Or maybe they should concentrate on asking questions, where you're planning on searching next, or if he doesn't want to say the exact spot because he's worried that it'll get sort of sabotaged. Have you got a plan of searches? How many searches have you got? Another vigil planned? things about Sebastian, what Sebastian is like. What do you think people should do if they see someone who they think is Sebastian? Should they approach him, etc.? I don't know. What would you ask? Because I do feel like these questions are pretty silly.
So Lauren asked, has there been any searches in Horn Lake? I don't know that we can discuss where any of those searches are from this point forward. Can we, Seth?
We don't really, we don't really discuss it. Everybody knew that we were out on the boat because I put it out there where we were. So most of our searches are held private unless we find something of value. If we find something of value, then we turn it over to law enforcement. And you guys would not know. If we search someplace and we don't find anything, then I let you all know. That way it doesn't impede.
Yeah, so it's not exactly.
Well, someone tells me my ribbon's upside down. I apologize for that.
You know, you have to wonder at the value of this question and answer session. But I suppose.
Shame on you.
I know.
I suppose they weren't intending to have to do a question and answer session. This was supposed to be a chat with Gabby Petito's dad, Joe, about the Gabby Petito Foundation and about missing children in general. So I suppose it has all gone to pot a little bit.
Let's see. This comes from K-Max, Seth. This is a good question. Can you speak to Sebastian's interest in FFA? That's a great question.
Future Farmers of America?
Yes.
I was in it when I was in school. Last year for Christmas, he literally asked for books on plants and animals. And he got a couple books from his grandma for him. I went and got him a couple books as well. That's what he asked for.
So you think that interest in FFA came from you?
I think it came from himself, really. I mean, he's the one that wanted to know about growing things, and he wants to take care of animals. I enjoy living on a farm and things like that. So Sebastian had animal therapy before, and when he was going to school in Kansas at the very beginning, before we went to California, they used animal therapy, and he really responded to that. He really liked horses, loves cats. I mean, he's been exposed to a lot of different type of pets: snakes, lizards, cats, dogs. So anonymous Aphrodite asks, Seth, have you spoke to forensics yet? Speak to forensics? That would be Sumner County, and I haven't spoken to anybody in forensics.
Okay. So
yeah, so it's a bit of a, I mean, much as I don't particularly like Tony, I feel a little bit sorry for him because it's hard, isn't it, to get Seth sort of engaged in anything. I don't know what does. I mean, Seth probably doesn't even know what he wants. He probably wants public attention in one way, and then in another way he doesn't, I suppose.
Let's see, has Katie been keeping up with you? You answered that. Ellie is honesty prevails. Yes, Ellie is still staying in touch with Seth. He kind of answered that a little bit ago. Seth, what do you want to talk a little bit about the Vigil? I know there's been a lot of people asking about that. For those of you guys, it is August 24th, so you want to kind of tell them what we put together today?
Well, we're going to be working with an animal rescue up here in Clarksville. And then after that, we will be meeting up at the Harley Davidson for our vigil and our prayer. I don't know what else we're going to do, but I'm hoping for a nice turnout. I hope Sebastian matters to people. And because he likes animals is why we're going to go up at an animal rescue.
That's quite sweet. Said, I hope Sebastian matters to people. I mean, Sebastian does matter to people. That's why we're all sat watching this, because we're hoping to find something out about Sebastian, and about Sebastian being found. So I didn't catch when you said the vigil was, but let's carry on this.
Rescue them, try to get things for them.
So what we're going to do, guys, is we're going to put together a ride. The ride will start out at a named location. The ride will go to a second location to where we are working with a local animal shelter, and the name and whatnot will be on the flyer. But we will meet essentially in a business in a parking lot where the animal shelter can bring all the animals out for adoption. The bikers and the rest of us will pull in there and give the animals some attention. They will donate money to the animal shelter in Sebastian's name. At that point, we'll leave. The bikers will leave, and they will finish up the ride at the Harley shop in Clarksville, where we'll have food for everyone in attendance, and we'll have the vigil to close things out. So, is that a good description, Seth, you think?
I didn't know we were doing the ride. I thought we were just doing a gathering. I mean, if we're going to do a ride, then it's a ride too.
Yeah.
I just know we're going to the animal.
So they're not very well planned, are they? Now there seems to be a dispute about whether they're doing. I mean, I think it's a brilliant idea to go to the animal sanctuary, and Sebastian loved animals, so they, maybe some animals will get adopted, or the animal sanctuary will get some donations. But the thing is, Tony is the PR guy, so Tony should make sure that everything's clear. Like, I know they were supposed to be doing this live with Joe Petito, and they've had to just go on the hoof. I understand that. Maybe they should have cancelled the live and then planned it better for the next one, because it doesn't come over well to people who are. I'm confused now, about obviously I'm not going to go to that vigil because I'm nowhere near it. But if anyone was local and wanting to go and wanting to know what's happening, it's not clear, is it?
Rescue place, because taking care of animals is Sebastian's thing.
Yeah. And
then we're all going to meet for the vigil at the Harley Davidson here in Clarksville.
So we do have a group of bikers that are going to be involved in that, though, correct, Seth?
Yeah, and he's got his messages coming through all the time with the really loud, put your phone on silent or vibrate, and then he's not really concentrating on the live. The thing is, you have to decide. I know he's not a professional YouTuber or anything like that, but you have to decide. Come on, you do a live for an hour, and just for that hour, really, you have to really concentrate. Now, obviously, he could get any information at any time that maybe Sebastian's been found or whatever. Now, I'm not saying to him he should turn his phone off, but I don't think he has to have it as loud as it is. And I think he could look more discreetly. But anyway, you let me know what you think. It just if he's doing a live to attract people's attention and to bring attention for Sebastian, I think he needs to perhaps concentrate on a bit more. And it's Tony who should tell him that, because Tony's the PR guy. But I imagine Seth is quite difficult to tell what to do.
It's still a work in progress.
Okay. We know what we do know right now is we do have a pet rescue that is participating in the event. We do know it's going to be August 24th, and we'll get everybody details.
We know the dates, and they'll be on the flyers when we get them out by the end of the week, end of next week.
Absolutely.
See how this is the end of the week already.
Let's see.
That's just not on all those messages coming through.
Seth, someone asked, do you think it was Sebastian that took out the trash Sunday night?
I'm not 100% sure. It was dark and it was grainy on that video. I'm praying it was, because then at least we know when he was last seen him.
Absolutely. Smiley, we have some mainstream media outlets that we've got ready to do interviews. Quite frankly, we had the search, and Seth knew his own live was coming, and Seth really, wants to do, maybe an interview a week. So probably we'll see a mainstream media interview next week, but I leave that up to Seth. If he tells me that he's ready to do another interview, then we've definitely got people willing and waiting to do interviews all the way from local stations to national stations. So appreciate the question, though. Let's see. Seth, Hope B asks, is there anything that we can do to help other than spread his picture?
I mean, that's the only thing I ask people to do. You know, that's the very least. You know, strike conversations with people. Ask them if they've seen. Word of mouth goes by a lot fast too. You know, it's not just having his picture. You got to be willing to speak about it.
Bear 90 asks, did Sebastian have any obvious birthmarks that you're aware of, Seth?
No. But to me, he's his freckles.
Let's see. Someone asked if does Sebastian play games? This is Unstoppable. Did Sebastian play games with other people online?
What do you mean? Like, besides people that were friends on my PlayStation?
I think that's what they're asking. Just maybe describe kind of what he did on the PlayStation. I know you guys played games together and whatnot. I think that's what they're asking.
I mean, he played on my phone when he played modern Call of Duty Mobile, and he played on the PlayStation. He sat there and he played Modern Warfare on there. You know?
Gosh, it's like pulling teeth, isn't it? Sorry, but it is.
I mean, sometimes I wonder because people, like, I play Call of Duty Mobile, and I was just on it yesterday. And it's like, when Taco talked about he couldn't tell the difference between me or Sebastian playing mobile, you know, we're talking about my rating is like a 91%. Most of the time I'm getting 20-some kills. You know, max is 50, over half the kills. I mean, Sebastian was that good. I mean,
dear me, sorry, I'm always a bit suspicious of adults who play PlayStation games like it's like fantasy, isn't it? But but I know why these people are asking these questions. They're asking the questions because a lot of people feel, did he meet somebody online? You know, do it while he was gaming online, because of course people do chat online, don't they, when they're gaming?
I'm pretty sure he could have streamed him playing and actually been, you know, competitive at least.
So we got just a comment that came in that was very nice. Want to be sleuthing something? That's pretty funny. I told people about him at a birthday party the other day. I tell everyone about him. My kids would come home during the school year and ask, did they find Sebastian yet?
One day we'll find him. I hope that that day is today or tomorrow.
Yeah, hopefully, Seth.
Ruthie says, don't understand if the outside garage lights are supposed to be on all the time. If that was Sebastian taking out the trash, there would be light.
And the light wasn't on.
You know, that's a valid comment, I guess, right?
Yeah.
You know,
Skullify asks, were there any searches before they became private? Were there any searches done by the area where the RV was at?
Say that again.
Before we started doing the searches privately, were there any searches done by the area where the RV was?
There were some people out there that had done some searching, put flyers out. And I know that the FBI had been out there. Because where the trailer was at is over the line in Mississippi, and the FBI responded to that.
Okay. So Justin Zalowski Sr. Says, and I had about 3 or 4 people reach out to me today, says there's a flyer in North Carolina Walmart saying recovered. What do you know about that? Do you have any info on that? Probably not, right?
Somebody sent that to me earlier. Tomorrow I'm going to make a phone call.
Yeah, so that's somebody who put recovered. I've heard that. I'm sure that happened before. I don't know why people. The thing is, people will walk into a place, that boy's been found, you know, not really knowing that there had been some unknown reason people interfere like that.
Yeah.
And find out why they're putting them as recovered. I don't know if they're just running out of space on the board or what it was, but tomorrow I'll call and I'll let corporate know.
So Tit for Tat says, was Katie's friend
Clear. Tomorrow I'm going to make a phone call.
Oh, what happened there?
Yeah.
And find out why they're putting them as recovered.
I don't know what happened there.
I don't know if they're just running out of space on the board or what it was. Tomorrow I'll call and I'll let corporate know.
So Tit for Tat says, was Katie's friend Lori and her son Ethan staying with her the night Sebastian went missing?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I don't know. I know very little about that.
It's quite
So DNA Resin says,
because of course on the day that or the day before Sebastian went missing, supposedly they'd all been out, hadn't they? Her and Katie, Sebastian, the family, all been out for lunch, etc., and they supposedly had a great time and this, that, and the other. But yeah, it is still quite. It's quite blurry, isn't it? We don't know exactly what happened, and I don't think we will get to know until this, one way or another, this investigation is finished. So, I mean, I'm recording this at the moment, but when I do this video put this video out probably in a premiere or a recorded live, I may do a poll because I'd like to know what you all think happened to Sebastian. What's the general opinion? Do you think there's foul play? And if so, do you mean Katie? Because Katie was that Chris Proudfoot wasn't there that night, allegedly. So was it Katie, or do you think Seth knows something? Or do you think it's completely another person? Some random person maybe has done some harm to Sebastian? Or has Sebastian just run off on his own and had an accident? You know, I'd be interested to have your view.
Seth, does Sebastian have ambitions, or has he talked to you about what he wants to be when he grows up for his career?
Kid was 15.
Right.
You know, Sebastian didn't do a lot of thinking about the future when it came down to what he wanted to do. I'd had conversations with him, but he didn't know what he wanted to do yet. He wanted to work with animals and things like that. So part of FFA and everything else was that. So I was looking at more than likely he would be probably going into something along the lines of working with animals. I mean,
makes sense, right?
Yeah. If you like it, it's not really work. You're getting paid to do something you like.
So here's a great question. This will allow you to elaborate a little bit on some things. But Mustang Mama asked Seth, have you talked to Chris McDonough of the Interview Room, which is, as we know, is the Cold Case Foundation?
I have.
So do you want to elaborate on what we're waiting on that, or no?
No.
Okay.
No, he doesn't want to elaborate on it. So we're not sure why. Is that because it didn't go well, the conversation? Now, personally, I would advise him not to, you know, no offense to Chris from the Interview Room, but Summer Wells's parents, Candace, she did speak to Chris, and he went to the home, didn't he, and made a video which I think put Candace in a very bad light. And, you know, maybe Candace is guilty, but I expect Candace felt quite bad about that after, because Chris McDonough made out he was trying to help, but I think really he didn't. So that's my personal opinion. So I would advise Seth not to talk to any other YouTube channel, be it bloody, you know, some ex-detective. It doesn't matter how reputable they are. At the end of the day, he's better off just doing his own thing and talking to mainstream media.
So there definitely has been conversation.
Yep.
Marilyn,
private conversations.
Right.
Private conversation.
So Marilyn and Sam wants to know, when is Sebastian's birthday?
Pearl Harbor Day, December 7th.
Okay. Let's see what we've got here.
He's so defensive, Seth, isn't he? Doesn't do it himself. I mean, they only asked when Sebastian's birthday was. And he went, Pearl Harbor Day, December the 7th, as if they should know, or as if there's just something about the way that Seth speaks that it feels uncomfortable to me. I'm not saying that means he's done something to Sebastian, but he's quite sort of aggressive, isn't he? And he's, these are just people that are inquiring about Sebastian. He's doing a question and answer session. It's like he doesn't want to answer any questions.
Serenity 72 asked what your thoughts are. Do you think that was a garbage truck, or do you think that was something else? We'll just leave it vague like that. What's your thoughts on that, buddy?
Leave it vague like that. Oh, was that an option?
I don't think we think that was a trash truck, do we?
Don't know. I'm not allowed to have an opinion on certain things.
So remember the video of the trash truck, or the lights that was supposed to be the trash truck? So basically what they're saying there is they don't think it was a trash truck. I don't know.
I can tell you guys in the audience, I don't think it was a trash truck.
Oh, there you go.
Why Davidson County is in one of the two homes? Let's see.
What do you all think? Was it a trash truck, or was it torches?
Says Antonio, don't tell people who you're interviewing. Yeah, I will tell you, that's a great comment. Looks like CA Girl 818 she says, don't tell people who you're interviewing. I think we learned that the hard way today, didn't we?
We did, but I wasn't going to let the haters know that was the last time they'll find out who it is.
Yeah, we will not be announcing who any of the guests are. You'll have to tune in to find out from here on out. Looks like Carrie.
I do think that's awful, to be honest. They were going to interview. I mean, Joe Petito, he lost his daughter. She was murdered. And he will understand a bit about how Seth feels, because there was quite a long time that they were looking for Gabby before she was found. Why would anyone do that? Contact him, threaten his family. What kind of people are these?
Pristula asks, what can you do, Seth, with the gaming community to get Sebastian's name out? Did you does his name come up when you're playing? The gaming community is huge. It's a great question, right?
Yeah,
it is.
Question.
It's a really good question. The only issue is that he didn't have his own player tag, and how are you going to know who you're talking to?
Right.
It's like, if people wanted to put it out, that'd be great. I mean, if gamers are out there and they want to start talking in chat about my son and get it around so more people will know, I'm 100% for that. Right. I'll play Call of Duty Mobile and, not live, but, and I'll talk about my son the whole time that I'm, eliminating targets.
I think
one of our
a good idea.
The Real Me, one of our moderators asked, is there anything that we need for the vigil? I mean, I'll answer it first. We just want as many people that are here for the right reasons to show up and support and to donate to the pet shelter, correct?
That is correct. If you have allergies to animals and you're coming out, please take something for it. Otherwise, my goal is just to help out with that place. And then afterwards, go and have the vigil over at Harley Davidson. Bring some attention to the shop over there.
So Sarah's Suspicions asks, what, if anything, seemed off when you arrived at the house that day and the following days that you were there with CP and KP? I mean, I think it's okay just to give an opinion if you noticed anything wasn't right. I think you talked about that a little bit on Betty's show.
I did, and I have, and my son was my son. He still is. And I was in that house where he's supposed to have been safe. So I was really under a lot of different emotions at that point in time. I noticed a lot of things that were different, but I prefer not to speak about them because those are things that I've told law enforcement.
Okay.
Whether they do anything with it or not, that's them. I know I'm going to
So he said he noticed a lot of things that are different. But of course, I don't know when the last time was that he'd gone to that house. But, you know, these cryptic comments aren't good. He needs to either say no or yes, and this is what it was.
Just try my best.
So Krista 23, CRSTA 23 asked, do you know what size of clothes he was wearing?
He was wearing, you know, slim. His jeans were 12 slims, and his shirt was, you know, like medium.
Shoe size?
He wore 10.5.
So Jenny K asks you, did Sebastian always tell you, or was it a one-time thing that he didn't want to go back to CP and KP's house?
That was the first time that it was. You gotta understand, I caught him in his room. I was just walking by when that happened. So he was in his room. And normally if he's in his room, he's normally doing it. And I check on him, and I was getting ready for us to get ready for dinner. And when I walked by, I caught him, and, you know, him hitting the ground, and it was like, what's going on? And he didn't want to talk to me about it.
Right.
You know, so can't make a teenager.
It's very confusing, this, because he says, and it was said from the beginning, wasn't it, that Sebastian didn't want to go home to Christopher Proudfoot and Katie's house. But then it turned out, wasn't it, that they were saying that he didn't want to go and live with his dad, because going to live with his dad would mean him being taken out of school and he'd have to be homeschooled, and he didn't want to be homeschooled. There's a lot of confusing sort of stories here. I mean, who did Sebastian want to live with?
To talk to you, you gotta hope that they couldn't talk to you.
Yeah, I understand. So CA Girl 818 has another good question. She wants to know, was it strange that Katie had such a huge outing on a school night? Was that normal or was that abnormal?
To me, I would say it's abnormal. I mean, when I have him, it's Fridays and Saturdays. Sundays is school night.
Yeah, but I don't think she took him out at the night time. It was the daytime, wasn't it? I think it's quite common for families to go out in the daytime on a Sunday. The other thing is, you know, he doesn't know what was coming. He hadn't seen Sebastian for months before Sebastian disappeared. And, you know, I'm not trying to come down on Seth, but I don't like the way he's always coming down on Katie, because until it's proven that Katie had something to do with Sebastian's disappearance, it's not really fair, is it, to cast aspersions on her? You know, the police haven't arrested her, haven't charged her. They've given her a lie detector test that she's passed. I don't know what else Katie can do, really, to convince people. But she could be the biggest liar. You know, she could be a really good liar. So I'm not saying she's definitely not done anything. What I'm saying is, there is nothing to say that she has, and the police don't seem to think she has. But again, I'm sure you'll let me know what you think.
You know, when he was at my house, and if I was taking him to school the next morning down there then he'd have to get, you know, bedtime was at 8 o'clock, the school night. Not to mention, you got to get up earlier, and we need an hour to travel to get you there by the time to pick up, you know, get on the bus.
Right.
You know, whoever did something to my son, I don't care who they are. But my son will have justice. And I don't care who they are. I want to go to jail. I want them to understand that they did wrong.
Well, he's virtually saying there somebody's done something to Sebastian, because he said, whoever's done something to my son, I want justice for my son.
Yeah.
We're going to find him, and we're going to get justice. That I can assure you. So Southern Grammy Wolf asks Seth, did Sebastian have a good relationship with the extended Proudfoot / Bowersox family, to your knowledge?
I have no idea.
Okay. So Seth, we've been on a little over an hour now. We promised our guest we would keep it close to an hour. Is there anything else you want to share before I thank everybody?
I appreciate everybody showing up, and please, his flyers out there on YouTube. Share it. It's a PDF, so it can easily be. It's just a picture of his flyer. I thank everybody for showing up. Please don't forget my son.
Oh,
He's the reason I'm here. And until next time.
So what I'd like to do, Seth, right quick, is I would like to thank a few people. First off, I'd like to thank everybody.
okay. So what do you think about that then? So I think that's the first time that I've watched Seth speaking where he seems to be saying that he thinks somebody has done something to Sebastian, because all the previous times I've seen him being interviewed, he's like, praying, if you like, the vigils, praying to God to bring Sebastian home. We're going to find Sebastian. He seemed quite defeated there. Maybe it's the length of time that's gone past. He seemed more convinced that something, in fact, had happened to Sebastian, didn't he? So, very sad. Anyway, I suppose it's not beyond the bounds of possibility that Sebastian will be found safe and well. He still could be hiding with some. Yeah, because I remember Seth saying, somebody saying to him, "Where do you think Sebastian is now?" And he said, "Oh, he's probably sat somewhere playing his PlayStation." I just felt in that interview there, he was much more like, we're going to bring Sebastian home and we're going to get justice for him. More sort of accepting that maybe Sebastian is not sat on someone's sofa playing the PlayStation. That's really quite sad. Anyway, so let me know what you think of Seth's latest live. Don't you think it's awful that Gabby Petito's father was frightened off going on there as a guest because of horrible people threatening him? I mean, what is wrong with these people? Literally, honest to God, just some very, very sick people out there in this world. That they won't let two fathers get together to talk about their missing children. They've got to. Why would they do that? Anyway, never mind. You can't reason with stupid, can you? So, thank you so much for watching this video. Prayers for Sebastian. Let's hope against hope for a happy outcome. So I'll see you really soon in the next video. And until then, as always, may your God always, always go with you. Sebastian. Bye.